Ed, what is the #1 comedy podcast in the UK?
I would say it's probably Laura Kuensberg's Hour of Slapstick.
All I know is
1 hour of her slapping a stick.
It's definitely not us. Yeah, we don't even make the list because we're not on Spotify or anything other than YouTube. But it's still nice that we try. Hello, and welcome to the RiffRaff with me, Alex Ravenhall, and him, Edward Mulrine. Ed, how are you feeling about the oil crisis?
I'm feeling quite proud of the oil crisis.
Why is the first emotion that comes to mind pride?
Because I've made a lot of money out of it. And not enough people are open about how pleased they are when they make a lot of money out of a terrible crisis.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd redress that, redress the balance. Look, I sold my company. What they do after I sell it is none of my concern.
Well, that's fair enough, Ed. I would also like to thank...
To be frank, when they prosecute me, I'm going to get on the next rocket ship up to space with Jeff Bezos and live on Mars for the rest of my life.
Yeah, too right. Bloody billionaires being nasty all the time. We're here.
Yeah.
We speak truth, Ed. We do. We share the truth. That's why our sponsor, as always, is Share Password VPN. That they've expanded into VPNs as well. I'm just going to roll the wheel, Ed, and let's see what comes up. What could it be? What crazy thing could it be today? I can tell you what it is.
What?
It's an interview. This is the interview of the century. I shall be interviewing. What do you want to be? A president, a homesec, a celebrity? We'll make them up so we won't get defamed. But what are you? And don't worry, I know what you've done. You don't have to come up with that.
Okay. I don't know. I think I'm a famous. I think I'm an old rock star.
You're an old rock star.
An old rock star.
Okay, so we need I need to do my research basically. So we need your name and your band.
My name is Chuck Telfon.
Chuck Telfon.
Chuck Telfon. And I think my band was called Chuck Telfon and the Rolling Cranberries.
And the Rolling Cranberries. Okay, and then who am I, apart from Jean Valjean? My name is Graphite Penberton.
You have a real you've really mastered the art of plausible character naming.
I feel like improv is my speciality because on the spot I just come up with really realistic and like true to self names. Graphite Penberton, and it's not because I've got 3 pencils next to me. Graphite Penberton is someone who's beaten the odds, and by beating the odds, his name is Graphite. So everyone's always been like, "Oh, what are you here to give me a pencil?" Hey. Penis head or something, I don't know, like they're really nasty to him. But he's like, so it's made him really dogmatic, and he's very like dogmatic interviewer, and he doesn't take no shit, and he's serious at his trade. And so he's been given this once in a lifetime interview with Chuck Telfon and the Rolling Cranberries. Now what I'm going to do now, Ed, is I'm going to be...
No. The Rolling Cranberries aren't there, it's just Chuck Telfon.
Oh, of course, but Chuck Telfon of previous fame. With Chuck Telfon and the Rolling Cranberries. So the interview between Graphite Penberton and Chuck Telfon begins.
Sorry. I went into sorry. While you were writing down your questions, I logged onto a free online game website and clicked on Hello Kitty Pinball and it played an advert just then. I didn't mean... I've gone off the website now.
No, it's alright. They were the adverts playing before the show. So the show starts and it's like, bum, 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 bum. It's Graphite Penberton. A bum, 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 bum. Asking the questions, it's Graphite Penberton. Hello. and welcome to Graphite Penberton. With me, Graphite Penberton. I'm joined today by 70s rocker, lover of alcohol and Diet Coke. Never Pepsi. It is Chuck Telfon, former lead singer of Chuck Telfon and the Rolling Cranberries. Thank you so much, Chuck, for being here today.
Well, Graphite, it's good to be here. It's good to be here.
Now, obviously, we're going to deep dive into your career, your monumental rise to the top, and also the scandals that have plagued your life. But to start off with, I'd like to know a bit about your childhood. Where were you born? What did you do as a child? Were you strange or normal in terms of friendship groups?
I was born on top of a house in a little town called Red Hill, Texas. I was born on top of my mother's house, where my father also lived. Went up to the roof because that was the coolest place. In the summer, in the town I was born, it got so hot that you had to sit on the roof just to stay cool, and that's where I was born. I was born by cesarean, and there wasn't no anesthetic in those days, so they just used a rusty razor to cut open my mama and take me out. And that was the inspiration for my song, Cut Open My Mama and Take Me Out.
Yes, it's quite a shocking start to anyone's life. Did your childhood inspire your first album, Machete Killing Is What I Dream Of?
No. As I say to every interviewer who asks me this question, the machete killing imagery, it's all made up. It's all made up. It's all metaphorical. You see, when you grow up, your childhood, it's a struggle. Your adulthood, it's a struggle. And now I'm old. Being old is a struggle. And the struggle I found when I was a child was the struggle of trying not to kill people with a machete. I was given my first machete when I was 3 years old by my dear old daddy papa. My daddy papa gave me a machete, and I used to run amok with it round the schoolyard, chopping away at all the boys around me. And they told me that's not something you can do. And for the rest of my life, I've struggled with that. And in fact, I have a machete with me here. And to be honest with you, it's taken all my willpower for me not to pick it up and chop your head off with it as I speak.
Well, I would like to pinpoint the line in Machete, which is the opening song of that album. I'm not even lying, bro. It's gonna get messy. I'm gonna chop your beep head off with a beeping machete. What was the thought process behind that?
I'll tell you what my thought process was. I thought, I want to chop this fella's head off with a machete. So I'll write that down and put it to some music. And then I'll sing it into a microphone. And then the microphone will record the sound. And the sound will go onto a vinyl record. And the vinyl record will be shipped out to a store or a radio station, and then people will exchange legal tender for the recording of my voice, and then the process will begin again when I record some more music.
That is the type of insight that I think the viewers are very happy to get. You don't get this kind of insight from just your average interview, and I do thank you, Chuck, once again for doing this. We'll move on to album number 2, Showers with a Camel. Once again, you do stress that this was all metaphorical, yet the line in The Hump when you go, God, I think it's amazing, this is my favourite mammal. I always, when I'm in Rome, shower with a camel. And we do know about the 5-year stint you spent in Rome, so it's hard to see the imagery there.
Those were my wilderness years. That was the period when I wouldn't get out of bed. That was the period when I wouldn't leave my hotel room in Rome. And that's why I wrote the song that closes the album, Rome in Rome. Now, if you look very carefully at that album, you'll see that the Romes are spelled differently. The first Rome is spelled R-O-A-M. And the second Rome is spelled R-O-M-E. You see, it was about me coming out of my hotel room. It was about me kicking the habit. of showering with camels. Now, as I say, kick in the habit of imagining showering with camels, because that never actually happened, and no one's ever found any proof of that. My songwriting, it's allegorical. You ever read that Animal Farm? You ever read Animal Farm?
I have not, unfortunately.
Well, I've seen plenty of animals in my time, and let me tell you, an animal is not something you can get into a shower easily without killing it. Now, I'm not saying I showered with dead camels. What I am saying is that in my songs, the camels are alive when I bring them into the shower, and they're dead by the time they leave. That's an image that the Rolling Stone magazine used in its top 28 allegorical images of 20th century songwriting. That's how powerful an image it was. And I'd just like to address again, even though this was decades ago, the camel meat that I was seen carrying in shopping bags at the end of my wilderness years had nothing to do with the songs I wrote. I just bought the camel meat to eat on my own, to barbecue for my little baby child.
I mean, no one's going to object to that. Your wilderness years was also where the money trouble started. You just mentioned Rome in Rome. Oh, sorry, I didn't quite catch that. But in that song, there is also the line, "Oh shit, oh bugger, I need a loan. I've lost all my money. I'm stuck in Rome."
Well, we all experience financial hardship. I was brought up by my mother and my Papa Daddy, and they didn't have much money at all. They had so little money that every day I had to draw the curtains, because we couldn't afford real curtains. I had to draw them on the wall with a great big, with a paintbrush. And the heat being what it was, the paint always disappeared by the next day. We drew everything in our house. I drew the curtains, I drew the food we ate onto the table, I even drew the beds we slept in. And although it wasn't much, we used our imaginations. That's why I can't get all these people, these weak-wristed socialists who walk around nowadays and say we have to help out the poor. If you've got an imagination, then you can live as comfortably as anyone who lives in a big, high castle, like I do. If you've got an imagination and you don't have any money, you just think of money. You think of money and you have money. That's the power of the imagination. That's the power of these images I use. And on the subject of the profanity I used in that particular song, I think it's very important to speak as you find. And I'm one of the few people who is able to speak as he finds and find as he speaks. And that comes back again to the power of imagination. If I say I'm a rock star, then I am a rock star. If I say I'm going to go out and get myself a wife, then I find myself a wife. I spoke it, and then I found it. And that is the power of imagination. That is the power of the written word. That is the power of music.
You mentioned money, and obviously Showering with Camels was your breakout album. You made an astronomical amount off it, and following that, your private life started to perforate into your professional. I'm going to mention a couple of the things that happened in those years, and I would just like to hear it from the horse's mouth, or the camel's if that is an animal you would prefer. The first, well, it's only 2 words, and I think we all know what I'm talking about. Walker's Crisps.
You see, the problem with Walker's Crisps is it was a bad idea from the start. I was approached by one of these businessmen asking me to do a deal where we would advertise Walker's Crisps. Now, the problem I had is that in the US of A, or the U of the S of the A's, we used to call it, is that we do not call them crisps. We call them potato chips. So that was my first problem straight away. The second problem I had is that I, through no fault of my own, ended up accepting the $4 million they offered me before I could write any songs, and spent it all on a brand new divorce from my then third wife, Priscilla Nightingale. I'm sure you remember that. So
we can talk about the romance with Priscilla. Obviously, you met her on a tour of Magaluf, not a music tour, a self-proclaimed tour that you said with the lads. Priscilla was a waitress in one of those bars, and you were married within 3 hours of knowing each other. and then divorced, I believe it was 6 hours after. She took 18.7 million from that. Do you feel like that might have been a mistake?
Listen, I try to live without regrets. I once headbutted a poor child because he looked at me funny. I regret that.
He didn't look at you funny. He actually was blind in one eye, so he couldn't focus on your face.
Well, it was 2 hours by the end, and I regret that. I once kicked a puppy because I couldn't get the flavor of ice cream I wanted at the store. That was a mistake.
I mean, admittedly, the ice cream trucks run by puppies wasn't the greatest idea in the long run, and there were quite a lot of complaints. But I don't think anyone went to the extent of kicking the puppy.
No. But when I divorced Priscilla Nightingale, that was not a mistake. She was a nasty, nasty, nasty piece of work. The first thing she did when we met was slap me across the face. I misinterpreted that as love, because when I was growing up, slapping each other across the face is how we greeted each other. So, I married her on the spot, but then she kept slapping me across the face. The novelty started to wear off, and I started to notice other things about her, like the fact that whenever she chewed, she'd spit her food into my face. And when she drove a car, she'd drive the car right into my face. You get the picture.
I do.
She was always ramming stuff into my face, and this was only in the very short time for which we were married.
Well, 6 hours.
So I took that $4 million the potato chip company gave me, and I used it to contribute to my expensive divorce.
What led from that, obviously, was the album I Like Salt and Vinegar with Gary Lineker. He obviously featured on several of the songs, which at the end of the day was a travesty. There were 6 songs on there, all different flavours of crisps. Obviously Lineker was on Ready Salted, Worcestershire Sauce, and to be fair, the one song that is still... It made the charts, it got to number 14, Ketchup.
Ketchup.
In fact, the song lasted longer than the crisp flavour.
That record was a drag. It was a drag to make. It was a drag to perform on tour. And it's a drag to talk about it now.
Well, we'll move swiftly on. As you know, you aren't... Either scandal follows you or you create scandal. Now, you have to talk me through Daniel Day-Lewis's prize-winning guacamole fiasco. You are out at his summer house in the beautiful city of Lincoln, and something went on. Now, I know for years you've denied this in the press. There has been several lawsuits surrounding this. I just want the real story. What happened with Daniel Day-Lewis's prize-winning guacamole in Lincoln?
Well, legally I'm not allowed to give you the full story, but I have here a testimonial written by my lawyer, which has been checked so that I can say everything I'm allowed to say.
I'd like to hear it.
I was in the city of Lincoln on the 23rd of July, 1991. I was visiting blank with a blank to blank them for being such a blank host. All of a sudden, through the blank came Daniel Day-Lewis. He held his blank aloft and said, "Isn't my blank the best you've ever seen?" Then Mrs. Blank, whose house it was, said, "Golly, I'd like to blank that blank till I vomit." Then I got up and ran straight out of the house and shouted for all to hear, "Quick! Daniel Day-Lewis's blank is out in the open for the first time. Come one, come all to sample Daniel Day-Lewis's blank." Then all the children of the locality ran to the house and said, "Look, Mommy, look, Daddy, that's the greenest blank I've ever seen. How is Daniel Day-Lewis doing that with his wonderful blank?" Of course, one of these mummies and daddies was a man from the press, and he started taking pictures, and all of a sudden, Daniel Day-Lewis's prize-winning blank was all over the media. and it was my fault. I apologize for this, and will gladly blank with blank and blank any people who feel they are in need of compensation. Even today, the guilt of it brings me much shame. Yours sincerely, blank blank.
Now, thank you for reading that out to us. I feel we all can really understand what happened there. Is it true that this event inspired your quite controversial song Redacted, in which you use only one word, the word being blank, to a tune similar to that of Old MacDonald Had a Farm? And did the owners of Old MacDonald Had a Farm really sue you, and how much did you pay them off in the supposed settlement?
Oh, they sued me, all right. They sued me for $28,000.
Well, if you wouldn't mind, I would just like to sing a part of the song just so people can realise how close the market was. Blank, 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 blacka blank, 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 blacka blank, 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 blanka blank, blanka blank, blanka blanka blank, 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 blank.
That was a beautiful rendition. You got a wonderful voice.
Well, thank you, thank you.
You did that better than I did on the record.
Well, we'll move swiftly on to your third album, some say the zenith of your career. Obviously, I do not include the Walkers EP or the single Redacted. This was Abraham Lincoln Can Go Suck a Peanut. Now, quite controversial at the time, but some of the songs on there were absolute classics. You have Washington Washing My Ton, which didn't really make much sense at the time, but I now realise that ton is a bit of like a rock star slang for guitar. You then have the immortalised I'm writing this song with a pen on paper. Quite a meta one that I think a lot of people enjoyed. But I would like to mostly talk about, from that album, your most streamed song ever. I Got a Light Bulb Stuck Up My Blank. Now, you like to use Redacted in your songs following from the incident. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, I think a light bulb is an image that people can interpret in their own way. To me, it means getting an idea. And it also means energy saving. And so I wanted to write a song that people could interpret in many different ways and would be a great comfort to them. The song itself is based on a true event which happened in my life when I was changing a light bulb in my castle, and I went to sit in my armchair, and I put the old bulb on the armchair beforehand, and before you know it, the bulb ended up right up me. Now, the first thing I thought to do is not the first thing you would have thought to do. The first thing you would have thought to do is go to accident and emergency, or the emergency room, as we call it in the U.S. That was not the first thing I thought to do. You see, I always wondered what it must be like to be a light bulb. When I was a child, I used to pretend to be a light bulb. So I thought this is the chance for me to fulfill my childhood dream. So I called my wife into the room and I said, "Honey, there is a light bulb inside me. I need you to plug me in." So my wife picked me up. She's a strong, strong lady. And she positioned me so that the end where the thin part of the light bulb was sticking out was raised to the ceiling. And she plugged the light bulb into its fitting with me hanging out. So I hung there. A light bulb connected to me, the light bulb connected to the ceiling. And I said, "Darling, darling, darling, throw the switch." And she turned the switch on, and the light bulb lit up inside me. I opened my mouth, and a great cascade of light came out. And that is when I had the idea for the song. The idea lit up inside me as the light from the light bulb lit up inside me.
And that comes back to that immortal line, which I've seen so many tattoos of. I've seen so many people respond to. I've heard it gets people out of a lot of dark places, and of course it is I don't want to scream or cuss. There is a light bulb in all of us.
That's right. That's right.
Mr. Chuck Telfon, I can only thank you for everything you've given me today. And as promised to send us away, you will be singing 30 seconds of your new song. So I'll leave the rest up to you. Thank you so much for doing my interview. I've been Graphite Penberton of the Graphite Penberton Show. And I will hand over now to the fantastic Chuck Telfon in his first song as a solo artist for 30 seconds. Chuck, take it away.
Step out into the garden, pick up a snail, put it in your mouth, and then just inhale. It'll slither down your throat and make its way to your liver. Don't run, don't cry, just shiver for your liver.
Shiver for your liver, it's shiver for your liver. Wow, sorry, I just got a bit ahead of myself there. That's Shiver for My Liver by Chuck Telfon. Thank you all for listening, and good night.
Step out into the garden, pick up a snail, put it in your mouth, and then just inhale. It'll slither down your throat and make its way to your liver. Don't run, don't cry, just shiver for your liver.